Okay,
point.
well, last point. Let's just assume that both teams now have Uber. Like, you've just fallen back from your forward hold. Default positions. Extremely default positions, ones that I like running. Just having the pocket and, well, the combo up here, pocket, medic. Demo can be... It depends on how the demo likes to play. As a lot of demos used to do, like many years ago, they loved sitting up the top left. But the problem with that is the bottom left area can be exposed to an extent. Top left area can be exposed to a certain extent. You can just get rushed there because you're not getting healed. You're generally not going to get Ubered because you're out of the medic's range. So a lot of demos started moving towards the top right, which is what I liked to do when I started playing demo. And you can just kind of sit in the resup, have your stickies, you know, however many spread you want. Typically you're going to have at least 4 on the point, and where you have the rest is up to you. I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, you can have a sticky trap on, say, like this pillar or something, like maybe 2 or 3 up here, because a lot of the time the other team's just going to jump a player from under, like a roamer, typically do some suicides for all you know. As soon as you're just at that, easy pick, and you just wait. Or you can have them forward up here, anywhere in here, it doesn't really matter. Do whatever you want, be creative with stickies.
You can even put them in bottom left
exactly.
if you want. Like, you can put them on that door. I honestly don't think it's that worth it, but if for whatever reason you know they've got ad and you think it might be possible that a roamer's going to come through bottom left and your demo's on top left, you can put stickies there and kill him. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. If you are going to put stickies there though, don't make it obvious that you're there. Like, honestly, when I'm pushing, if a demo's sitting on top left and like spamming pipes in here, sure, maybe he's doing 30 damage to me, but now I know that there's most likely stickies there, so I'm not going to be stupid about it. Like, if you are cheeky and you like sit up here and like you put pressure elsewhere with your pipes and just kind of ignore down there and make sure you don't get hit by a rocket, that roamer might get greedy and be like, oh yeah, there's a demo just there, push out and die. Or alternatively, like, he might not know you're there and then push in and just get sticky.
Another default is, you know, have your roamer. Like, sometimes you can sit forward, but it's really risky from, you know, potential repushes, or if they jump players from under here and just try and get these quick picks, because your roamer is generally not going to be healed because your medic's sitting up there. He's healing scouts, demo, and pocket. The roamer's just going to be sad.
These days as well, back in the day, on Last, like, a lot of the time you could like rotate in here and get a buff from your medic. But the way the game's played now, or at least a lot of the time, or the way we play, maybe it's just because James is extra greedy, like, there's not that much healing to spare some of the time on Last, because there's a lot of spam going on, and especially when Sheep is sniping, right? So when Sheep is sniping from this door here, which is like a common option, like, so we'll talk about util, but when Sheep is sniping here, it's really important as a roamer that you are watching this. Like, where James is right now, where James is right now, it's very easy for him to spam up. If there's 2 soldiers there, your sniper will die. If you're playing sniper, make sure you have like a quick bind, like just bind, like, I don't know, a button
to change
perhaps
class.
H to change class. Like, you don't want to be standing there and like move back. Like, just bind a button so that as soon as you take damage from a soldier down there, if you can't get back in time, just change class. You can always change back again. It'll keep you alive. So yeah, it's really important as a roamer that you're watching this, and even if you like back in here, unless you're like telling him that you're going for a buff, like, you can get him killed just by not spamming it, basically.
And on that token, the onus is kind of on your team to actually recognize the fact, hey, they've got soldiers missing here, or half their team is missing, because you can easily see the med beam traveling, and 9 times out of 10, if they're going to do double soldier spam from lower left, lower right, whatever you want to call it, that connector, their medic's going to be with them, because if they're not getting healed, they're just going to get spammed back and potentially lose a player. So your pocket should be like eyeing this choke pretty much the whole time, watching for potential rotations, or if your pocket's not too confident, he's going to be sitting back here, you can still easily see through this corridor. Or if you have a scout, I don't know, maybe if they decide to be really tricky, they like come down the stairs and wrap around, but you're going to generally have the scout sitting on the floor. He can like move around wherever he wants, but he can easily just scout out.
Be really careful. Be really careful as a scout pushing in though, because most demo men these days will sticky along here, or they'll sticky here, or there, or anywhere. Like, they'll put some stickies in there, and you really don't want to die defending Last. Like, obviously, if you have a player disadvantage defending Last, it gets hard. Alright, let's talk about Uber disadvantage defending Last. Okay. So with Uber disadvantage, these days, people run Pyro. It's kind of come to the fore in the last year or so, I think, really, to be honest. But now it's pretty common for a team to run a Pyro where James is standing now-ish, around there. And what you want to do is you want to like reflect them. Like you want to just don't even worry about left click. Just bind mouse 2 to every button on your keyboard and just stand there and knock them back and basically don't let them in, buy your team some time. If you don't have a pyro, or if you don't have time to have a pyro, or they're pushing too fast or whatever, usually what we do is maybe like James will fall behind the point if he doesn't want to go into spawn. Like they're kind of your only two options as a pocket over there.
If you want to be really tricky, you can jump onto the point and kind of just sit up here. I mean, yeah, waste some of their time with their Uber, joggle them off the point, whatever, shoot the stickies off the point. That's very important because 9 times out of 10, when the other team's pushing, regardless of what their advantage is, after a little bit of the Uber fight, the demo is going to be sticking this point, and a lot of the time your demo stickies are either going to be scattered or not on here. So if you say you go up here, assuming you don't fail the jump like I did, either shoot the stickies off with shotgun, it's kind of hard to, or just juggle them off the shotgun. The problem is I think they can kind of get stuck on this edge here, so that's something you want to keep in mind.
If you have to, like worst comes to worst, same goes for Roma, and same goes for if you're going for a back cap, or a sneaky little cap. Like if you shoot them all into one side, the way Badlands Last works is if you can shoot all the stickies over onto here and you just edge onto the point just here, you can cap. So like watch out for that. And the same goes for defending as well. Like the reason that teams put a lot of stickies there is so that they can run their Roma or their scout onto the point, and if I drop down as a Roma, oh my god, if I drop down as a Roma or James drops down or anyone drops down and gets on the point, the stickies get deaded, they die, and because Badlands Last caps so fast, unless you have another player there, like almost instantly you'll lose the point. So yeah, it is really important. Obviously if you do what James just said and you jump up there, like you do want your medic to not fall down and then die. Like he really needs to link up with someone in spawn, or perhaps he goes down behind point or something like that. Like you're pretty much, that whole maneuver with Uber disadvantage is just delaying. If you've only got 10% Uber, like you're not going to get Uber, so forget about that shit. Like, but you want to stop them from using their Uber to take too much position and cap the point. Like you want to kite it around. And if you're at 80% and you will get Uber, like you definitely want to be protecting your medic. Because we were saying in the attacking video that on Last, especially on Badlands and Granary, if you tunnel the medic, it's a bad move. Like if you tunnel the medic with their Uber and you don't kind of like focus more on killing their aggressive players, like you'll kind of get yourself into trouble in the long run. Just because sure, you just killed their medic, but now your Uber's finished and you've got 5 or 6 players, like, well sorry, not 6 obviously, 4 or 5 players still looking to kill you. So yeah, a lot of the time they will be tunneling your aggressive players, so your medic can kind of get places and just kind of heal and be fairly safe while he's doing it. So yeah, that's kind of the thing to worry about with aggressive Ubers. Most likely with like an Uber advantage, they'll do what James just did there. Like they'll go in under Uber, jump a soldier up there, their demo will walk in under and sticky top right and sticky there and sticky your spawn off and just throw stickies everywhere because they have an infinite supply. Or they might be where James is now and they'll just push in through top left and like barrel into you with a scout and a demo.
Especially if you have a pyro, 9 times out of 10 a team's going to push up here with like 2 scouts or demo and scout. It's generally like demo and scout, and they're just going to try and take this position off you with extreme force. One thing I actually quite like doing as pocket is I'm kind of anticipating when they're coming. So if I see the med beam moving close, I'm like, oh crap, what can I do here? I typically call out medic to either go behind point or through the spawn. And another thing I really like doing is if their demo's coming up here, I just drop down here. I've already got 300. I'm just trying to catch someone off here that's trying to come in unubered, because their demo is not going to have this sticky because he's going to be pushing up here with his team. So I can either come in here slowly, like just poke a little bit, maybe catch a soldier or a scout, and that's just that's like on any point really. If even as pocket, no matter what class you are, a lot of the time, if you can get behind and get a kill and just disrupt their Uber, it is huge.
Yeah, so that's something that I was going to talk about as well. Like, as a roamer, it's something that I've started doing. I used to do a lot, and then I stopped doing it for a long time and started playing heaps passive on Last and like just looking to stop them coming in bottom left and wait till after the Uber. Something I've started to do a lot now, especially if we have a pyro and they're going to like push in through top and do a big multi on both scouts and stuff like that, because they'll take a lot of spam and have to multi, is I will kind of just forfeit this entire area. I'll tell my team that like, I'm not worrying too much about it, especially if James is going to be rotating back into spawn and come back out this side, and I'll push up here. And they've all just ran in through here, right? So they have, like where I am right now, they've just busted 2 scouts in, they've busted their demo in, they've busted their med in. If I just come here, I can guarantee you that a soldier will come in delayed after the Uber, and he'll be looking to come top right most likely.
Yeah.
So I just spam him. Like I fight him, probably kill him, maybe not. Like I don't want to die, obviously. Like I fight him or I ignore him and like try and get him behind, because their Uber won't last too long because they've multied so much and they're committing to killing the pyro and getting that position. And then I just put pressure on them, like shoot their scouts, like focus those scouts that are just here. Like shoot the point, jump from here onto the point if they're about to cap. Like just don't get stuck in spawn. Like honestly, that's the worst thing you
that
can
applies
do.
to everyone really. If you run into spawn and like if your demo isn't above point or something, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, unless you have a player that is like drawing attention, like what I was just doing there.
Yeah.
If you can do that and force their demo not to get stickies up, that's fine. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Like if all 5 of your like players, because let's say you've got 1 dead or whatever, if 5 or 6 of your team are in spawn, you are going to lose.
because they just get on the point.
You cannot win. It is impossible to win, unless
It takes longer for you to get out of spawn than it does to cap.
yeah. Unless they screw up, and like you should not ever play around expecting a team to screw up, even though lots of people do, because scouts sit here and they're like, oh, but my KD, I can't bait the point. But yeah, if they do bait the point, as soon as you go into spawn, you will lose. Like it's game over.
Yeah.
F10, uninstall TF2.
Expanding on that point where you were saying how you like holding top left forward a bit as they're multiplayers, like what also can happen is they can't really flash 3 players at the same time. There's going to be that delay, so while you're spamming, you're going to be getting some damage on a scout. That's going to force more Uber to be used on someone, and maybe potentially I'll just be like, hey, maybe I can actually hold this top right area after all, because their Uber's going to run out even quicker. Their players are going to be really low after the Uber. So our medic is going to run behind, but I'm going to be sitting up there trying to hold my ground, maybe just jump around like an idiot, fall onto the ground, and then jump up to the top and just kill them.
Yeah. So like obviously, this is talking about defending last with Uber disadvantage still. Obviously, if you have Uber disadvantage, like you either defend the point or you lose. Like you lose the round. It's not like other points where you can kind of like and ah and make like a half hesitant call and be like, oh no, maybe we'll just fall back, we took too long. That shit doesn't work. Like if you take too long or make a bad call, you will lose last and have to make your peace with it. So if you're gonna do something aggressive, do it. Like if you're gonna like play back and just wait and then like shoot at them after the Uber, do it. But make sure someone on your team is doing something, and try not to like do the same thing as well unless you are committing to like aggression. So if James is like here spamming, if James is on the ground spamming up at them, like, and you decide that you want to like push in through top for whatever reason, that's fine. Especially because if you guys coordinate and you're calling, like you can easily get a kill on someone in stairs or behind them. But at the same time, you don't want to not coordinate and lose a scout rushing in through under or here, and then lose your pocket and your Roma, because you will lose last. Like that's the end of it. Like you've lost last. I mean, sometimes you do have to gamble that you will win all those duels, but yeah, just be cautious. Like I guess that's what I'm kind of trying to say. Like with Uber disadvantage, just be cautious, because if you last long enough, or if you disrupt their Uber enough, they don't have an advantage anymore. Like suddenly it's even, as long as you haven't lost too many players.
I mean, if you have time to set one up as well, that's something we didn't really say. Running an engineer is really strong. Typical sentry spotters up around there, because it kind of splits their attention. They're like, do we want to kill the medic or the pocket, or do we want to kill the sentry? Generally, they're going to have to kill the sentry, so they devote most of their Uber to that demo man. And meanwhile, that's where my aggressive play of just leaving my medic and just going forward to try and pick a duel works, because they're going to have people just sitting back, and I'm just being like, oh look, there's a soldier sitting near drop down, I'm going to spam him, force him back. Since he's getting no heals, that just means he's practically out of the fight for at least 10 seconds.
Yep.
Or there's scouts sitting up here, I'm just like, hello, couple rockets, same to him, and that's just really strong, really powerful, something that you can do.
Yeah, people get way too afraid on Badlands last when they have a disadvantage, like especially Uber. Like they think that they're stuck, they think they have to go into spawn, they think they have to drop down behind a point. No, you can do something unconventional, that's totally fine, but like you need to have confidence and you need to get kills. Like that's the end of it. It's like what we were saying before with playing aggressive as a roamer out of drop down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if you, I'm just gonna go cap splash. Yeah, but if you don't win your duel, you've basically lost last for your team kind of thing, like, or at least you've made it a lot harder for your team to win. And it's something that some players really don't like to play, that kind of like risk-reward game. But if you've got Uber disadvantage on last, and for whatever reason you don't think that your team will be able to hold, like, you're not really risking much, because you'll, like, obviously you made the decision because you think you'd lose either way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's talk about Oh, and yeah, we were saying that NG is good. I think, honestly, personally, I think Heavy is bad. Like, I think Heavy is bad on Badlands, unless the Uber's already finished. If for whatever reason you held them off with their Uber and their Uber's run out, and you come out, like you respawn and you come out as Heavy and you're like, yeah, I'm a Heavy, I jot down onto the point and spam the shit out of them, that's good. But just having a Heavy in place of an Engineer, I don't think is that strong with Uber disadvantage, personally.
Yeah.
You're better off with a Pyro and a Sniper.
On this map anyway, I mean, because like it's so small, it's just easy for him to get smashed. But like, the only time I feel Heavy works is if one, the other team doesn't, you know, focus him properly for whatever reason, or two, it's just because it's such a wide open map. And that's where Heavy is really strong. But if the other team, if the other team just focuses him with like, you know, demos, soldiers, scout, whatever, and it's easy for them to do it, they will do it. Like 100%. If a Heavy is sitting up here, it doesn't matter if he's on 450 health. It's not 4,500 health. If a demo comes to remain, a scout rushes you top right, you are pretty much going to die in like 3 seconds. And then that's like a free pick, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like everything that we've spoken about so far, though. Like, us saying this doesn't mean that it won't work for you in your scrim. Like, maybe you want to play that way, or maybe for whatever reason you think it's the right call in a certain situation and the other team doesn't deal with it well and it works for you, fine. But as, like, personally, from an objective perspective, I don't think that Heavy is as good. I don't know whether I would say you can't play Sniper, you've got no time to set up an engineer, so you suck at Sniper, no time to set up an engineer, and you've already got a Pyro, and you're a scout, maybe you want to switch to Heavy and like maybe sit in spawn door. Like, you could do that and then switch back to scout after Ubers or something. Like, it's possible. I don't know, I honestly haven't thought about the merits of Heavy on last compared to having a scout, but yeah, it's really like, yeah, I don't know, I just don't think Heavy is as strong as it is in some other points.
Yep.
So, player disadvantage. This is kind of the last thing. Like, the stuff we spoke about with Uber disadvantage is kind of similar for equal Ubers. We'll just touch on equal Ubers quickly. Like, really, equal Ubers, all you're going to do is look to trade well. Like, James, you take it away. Like, for equal Ubers, is anyone except the pocket and the demo, you really do the same thing you do with disadvantage. Like, you make sure you don't die unless you trade well, and you, like, make sure you focus on the point and don't let them get any cap time and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. Well, with even Ubers, the cool thing is, like, since they're not going to be, like, super aggressive pushing, since they don't have Uber advantage, you can have that time to set up that sentry if you like. I mean, that's something that's extreme. I personally, if we have even Ubers, I don't really like running many utils that much with the occasion of a sniper, because post-Uber, your scouts are going to be easily overhealed, able to just push forward and punish them, kill them after the Uber, and that's the end of that chapter for them. You take Spire, and then you're happy. Off last, because this is such a pain in the ass point to be on for so long. And even Uber's like, yeah, generally, like, I'm kind of just kiting the Uber, because they're going to be coming from main 9 times out of 10 if they're just going to use the Uber. And if you have a sentry, that pretty much forces them to come main. So it's just like 4 seconds of you as a combo just going, we haven't had Uber yet, this is fantastic. If they come to forward as well, like the demo man comes to forward, a lot of the time I'll just be kind of dropping down onto him, juggling him a bit. But most important thing you want to keep in mind is, since practically no one's up here, maybe just your demo man, maybe a scout if he's lucky, is this high ground area. Very important to not just give this up for free. If someone just comes in there while I'm trying to deal with this combo, it doesn't matter if we have a longer Uber. If they have this high ground and I'm not aware of it, then that's just absolute trouble. And especially if I don't kill this demo either. Because if they have this high ground positioning, they could just easily hide themselves from vision. I could not see. I mean, sure, Poria might see it, sure, someone else might see it. But if I'm not aware, and I just kind of tunnel vision this demo a bit just because we've got a good Uber advantage, then that's just really bad. So high ground, really important to hold, defending and attacking, vice versa. That's why I feel we lost that round against HRG, because we didn't keep the high ground. We just lemming straight onto the point, even though we had a good 30-40 seconds to buy time. So high ground, extremely important on this map, same for every other map, really.
Yep, I agree. I think, like, as anyone else, like any other player, like, you want to be not letting them take position. So as a roamer, you want to make sure they don't walk in through bottom right, you get a kill. You want to make sure they don't just hold in through here. They will walk in through here, they will look to take this area, and they will look to secure it. We spoke about it in the attacking Badlands video. Like, if they're roamer in one scout or they're roamer in their pocket, come up here. Like, it's a very strong position for them, because all of a sudden, if their Uber goes well, they have both both high grounds.
They're on even ground
Yeah.
with you, and they're opposite to you. It's easy for them to trade
And all
spam
they have to
with you.
do, they just have to buy time. Like, well, I mean, really, you're buying time, but at the same time, if they take this area, all they have to do is buy enough time for them
It's
to
just
put
attrition.
one scout on the point. Like, they can, like,
Yeah.
if they have one soldier here standing right at the door, and they have one soldier where James is right now spamming at the other door, and you're stuck in spawn or stuck behind the point, and they're spamming like this, all they have to do is put one scout on the point, and then another scout on the point, and you lose. Like, and it's like what we were saying before, if you lose, it's game over, that's it. You don't get another chance. So you really want to make sure they don't take that ground for free. Alright, so last thing to talk about. Hooray. Player disadvantage. Player disadvantage is kind of like... I think it's really interesting on Badlands Last, to be honest, because all of a sudden, everything you shoot at has to be, like, the right thing. Just because, like, when they have player disadvantage, and we spoke about it in the attacking video again, so if you're wondering what, like, another team's going to try and do, go watch it. But they're going to be looking for the point. Like, they have player ad, they know they have player ad, they know they can sacrifice people to get on the point, and they will be trying to do that once they get in. So, like, you do want to try and stop them from getting in, you do sometimes want to make ballsy moves, and you just want to be aware of your respawn timer, and make sure they don't kind of take that ground on the point. And don't die, definitely. Never, ever try and die. Like, I mean, sure, there are situations on other points where you might try and die with player disadvantage, like, just because your team's already
But this
falling
is such
out.
a small area. There's like less room for you to be clowny. Like, whereas say Greenery Last, you could just be hiding behind them up on like the pipe or
Yeah.
something, or you can hide up in that little closet area. Whereas Badlands Last, I mean, there's like these little crevices and stuff.
They can
you
just ignore you,
hide,
though.
But yeah, exactly. They can just ignore you.
Yeah, so, like, I guess I'm probably well equipped to talk about this, but with player disadvantage, what I mean by don't die is like what I said before, where like you push in and you try and get kills like this. Yeah, sure, you can do that, but you want to do it in such a way that the chances of you dying are much less than the chances of you trading well or getting a good kill. Like, and trading well with player disadvantage basically means trading up by like a factor of a lot. Like, you can't trade Roma for Roma when you already have a disadvantage, because now, like, that hasn't changed the game, kind of thing. Like, sure, now they don't have a Roma,
It has made
but
it
it's
worse
made it
for you
worse
because
for
you have one less person to
Exactly,
spam.
one less person to spam, one less fodder to stop them on the point, one less person that they have to worry about, and one less person to stop them taking position. So, like, if I'm going to die on Badlands Last, I want to kill the demo. I want to kill 2 scouts. I want to kill a Roma and a scout. Like, you know, I want to trade up and buy time for our respawns to be in a better position. So if I die for a Roma and a scout...
You don't want to kill the medic.
Well, yeah.
It's the same principle as like trading. Like, if you trade just your Roma for medic, it's just bad because they still have 5 DM classes. Player disadvantage is much bigger than theirs. They don't care if they don't have continuous
Yeah.
heals. Like, sure, they have a timer to, you know, get onto the point, but they're going to take advantage of that, and they're
The
just
only-
going to ball straight
The only
towards the
time
point
you would
and
want to
just
trade
destroy
for a
it.
medic as any player is if both teams are close to Uber. Like, if you're close enough to Uber that you will get it before they can cap the point if you die and kill the med, and they're close enough to Uber that they will get it soon, for whatever reason, or say, like, you're at 90%, they're at 50%, but they're pushing because they have a 2-player ad. If you're confident that your team will get Uber and get respawns by the time that Uber is then finished before they can cap, it's a good trade. But otherwise, it's really not worth it, I don't think. Like, medic is overvalued in a lot of cases on last point. Like, there are situations where obviously kill a med, and if you, like... I'm not saying, like, if you're standing here and a medic walks out straight at you for whatever reason with his back turned and his needle's out, don't kill him and turn around and walk past him. Like, obviously take the kill if it's there for you, but just prioritize other classes. And never think you've made a good trade if neither team is close to getting Uber and you've got 2 players down and you throw everything away to kill the medic. That is not a good trade. Like, you've lost the team. Like, you've most likely lost your team the game. Most likely.
Yep.
But yeah, so, like, with player disadvantage on every point, but especially on last, because obviously your respawns are literally right there, you really need to be aware of your respawn timers. Like, you need to be asking your team how long until you respawn, because that's going to change everything. Like, if you live long enough for your players to respawn and you get, like, say 2 kills, so, for example, they push in with 6 players, you have 4 players. If none of you die and you kill one of their players, when your players spawn, you have a player advantage. Like, you need to be aware of when you will get those spawns and what you can do with them as well, like, and where you want to be. So, for example, when you get spawns in here, you don't want to have kited them around and be standing back here with your entire team and then they just get on the point and you don't have time to get out to stop it. But if you're like where James is now still, by whatever miracle, you've like forced them back a bit and they're on top right. Say they're on top left, they've taken top left and your whole team's here, that's not so bad. Like, you've just got spawns, they're not on the point, you can still get to the point. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world, but yeah. I think that's probably really all we can talk about. Like, I mean, we could talk about like specific examples for like players to go to which positions depending on who's alive and who's not, but I don't think that's really valuable. Like, because it'll depend way too much on each player's kind of strengths within your team. Like, because if your strongest player is dead, you're in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas if your weakest player is dead and he's the player disadvantage, like maybe your team can compensate. So it really depends. And you guys do have to be aware of that. Like, it sounds awful, but even just in terms of position, like it is massively different, say if I'm dead compared to if James is dead and we're holding last. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that James is infinitely better than me or anything like that. I'm just saying that, like, even playing Roma and him playing Pocket, like, it's a huge difference. And even if I then slip into his role, like, it wouldn't be as effective, like, because I'm probably still using gunboats. And if I'm not using gunboats and I switch to shotgun, it means that when he respawns and we're retaking, I won't have gunboats. And it's just, yeah, just be aware of those kind of, like, situations and think with your team. Like, talk about it beforehand. Like, talk about where you, like, what you would want to do in these situations. Like, that's kind of what these videos are meant to be. Like, we're talking about how we do it and trying to get you guys to talk with your own team. Like, that's how we got good in the first place. Like, we used to scrim and then spend 3 or 4 hours after the game in just IRC or in Steam chat just talking about different situations and what we could do differently or what we think worked well and what we think other teams' strengths are. So if you guys can start doing that, like, that's really the road to getting better. Like, this kind of stuff, I think it helps. I mean, it wasn't really around when we were just starting out, but, like, if you take this as like what it is, like, take it as a guide rather than necessarily as a... Sorry.
Bible.
Yeah, take it as a guide, yeah, rather than as a Bible. I think, like, that's probably your best bet to improving.
It's just to help you, like, think about the game differently. Just in a more, you know, if this is happening, what should we be doing? We're trying to help you potential situations, but at the same time, how you can adapt. Just, that's the most important thing, just adapting. Like, that's in every game, really. Just adapting to the current situation, because you can't always say, oh, what if this happens? I mean, there's, like, almost infinite possibilities. Like, you could be out of rockets, you could be low on health, your medic could be running to resub, and infinite things could happen. You've just got to just think about the game and adapt differently.
Yeah, you know,
that's
you need to know what you could do in general. Like, you don't need to know specifics like, I need to shoot one rocket at exactly 5 minutes and 46 seconds remaining on the map into the back left corner of the lower section at XYZ angle times YZ coordinates. Like, that's not useful. If you fill your mind with shit like that, it's not going to help. And it's just going to clutter things. Like, God, like, I don't even know, like, different spawn wave times. Like, I know lots of players that can track spawn waves, but I can't do it. I just use tab. Like, I mean, I know in general, and I have a feeling for it, obviously, but I can't tell you exactly how long the respawn wave time is depending on what different, like, points are capped. I just don't think it's personally that useful for me to know. Like, I would much rather fill my head with different things that I could do depending on what happens to my team, like, and then just, like, pick the best option. Like, obviously sometimes you don't have time to sit there and think about it and you just need to make a split-second choice, but the more time you do spend thinking about this kind of stuff and playing with this stuff in mind, like, the more natural these decisions will make. Like, I don't think you sit there when we're about to coordinate a push and, like, have a little notepad out and do pro and con list for every different push. You know, you just pick one. You're like, all right, let's go in through top left. Brad, can you go bottom right? You know, like, that's just how it works. Like, you just know it.
Yeah.
And any of us can do it because we spend so much time playing together and practicing. So I think that's probably the most important thing to take away from these videos. Like, stick with your team, like, play together, like, get to know each other, like, as more than just, like, someone you play with for 2 hours every night. Like, put some time aside to actually talk about the game, even if it's just, like, an hour before scrims, someone comes online and you send them a message, hey man, like, say you're a roamer and you're playing with your scouts, you send a message to your scout and say, hey, I want to try doing something aggressive when we're defending resub. What do you think about us doing, like, you know, what do you think about us getting aggressive through house? And you'll say, oh, okay. Or you could send a message to your pocket and say, hey, if I jump behind in a situation, like, what would you be looking to do? Like, just find out what they think, and then you can use that, like, when you're making your own decisions. Like, I know how James will react to a lot of things that happen in the game, because I say, if I kill a medic or if I kill a demo behind and I'm still behind, I know that James will be looking to make a certain situation depending on which point we're on. Like, if you guys can learn that, Like, you've got to step up, basically, because you don't have to ask every time. You don't have to say, hey, is it alright if I do this? Or you don't have to say, get ready to do this. Like, you can just play and react to what's happening in real time, so... Yeah.
Yep.
The phone's ringing, hang on. Alright, cool, it stopped. Yeah, so I think that's really probably the end of it. The only thing we didn't talk about on last is when to use util. We spoke about a couple of situations. I think, honestly, it just depends on your strengths. So, like, when to play sniper, how you feel about it. Don't play sniper when you've got a massive player disadvantage, but with an uber disadvantage or equal ubers, it's fine as long as you're ready to swap out to a more useful class if you don't achieve anything, and don't die. So yeah, I think that's probably everything.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up. We tried to just get as much as we could. Obviously, as I said earlier, situations vary by minuscule amount, but that minuscule amount could be the complete difference between one decision being correct versus the other one being incorrect. Just depends how you adapt, and just sometimes it may not be the right decision, but since you've called it, like, you need to be confident in that call and just go with it. You just need to be confident in what you call. That's one of the most important things, just having confidence.
Yeah, so like we tried to cover all the bases of the most general things that happen, and also some specifics and some ways that you can kind of like flare up your play a bit and not just be like the standard jump here, zombie, walk this way, walk that way, shoot rocket. Yeah, like the ways that you can kind of personalize your play and make different decisions that people might not expect, but obviously we can't cover everything. I mean, this is already like an hour and a half long, so I mean, if we were to cover every single little thing that could possibly happen, it would go on pretty much forever. So I think we might sign off there. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this helps. Obviously, the same as the last one. If you do have any specific questions or anything like that, I think we'll do Granary next. So if you do have any specific questions about Granary or about this video, just leave them on YouTube or post them on OzFortress or TFTV and we'll get to them. Big thanks to Dai as well for helping us out with this video. We have had a couple of people in the last couple of weeks say that they would help us out, so we should be able to get them out a lot faster than the amount of time it took to do this one now. And yeah, so I guess thanks for watching, everyone. And thanks for donating, definitely, for everyone that did.
Yes, Illy 5 ever. Red Sox. Banana